Green Party implosion. Good afternoon, I hope everyone's well today. Thank you for watching as always. The Green Party is imploding, and it's quite funny, and it's ahead of schedule. I thought they would have held it together a little bit longer than they have. But it was always a broad coalition of two types of person. The Muslim bloc vote, exemplified by Deputy Leader Mothin Ali, who thought shouting Allahu Akbar when he won his council seat was appropriate. And then on the other side, you've got Rachel Maddow, or Maddows, I think her name is. And she is a loony lefty lovey, and the Labour Party isn't quite extreme enough for her, which is why she's in the Green Party, in my view. She's in a multi-million-pound house, and she's one of the refugees welcome crowd. So those are your two factions, and they are the factions that are in bed together. This is the issue. They can't sit well together, and they never would sit well together. It is literally a Trojan horse to get the Muslim bloc vote into power. That is what the Muslim voters are doing, and that's what they want.
Not a great plan.
Now, how is it imploding? Well, I'm going to go through a few details. The first thing I want to say is there was an attack on some Jewish people down in London earlier this week, and everybody is outraged. Everybody, all our leaders, all our TV stations, wall-to-wall coverage, this is unacceptable. Anti-Semitism on the rise in Britain. Broadly, I agree. I think violence isn't necessary, and I think violence is never the answer. Nobody in Britain should be getting attacked like this, but it always seems to be, for the most part, from a particular community. The Muslim community. Okay, that's just the fact of it, that's just fact of matter. Then we look at this, remember this guy? Hero stabbed to death as he walked his dog. This is Wayne Broadhurst. Where was the outrage when this happened? Where was the outrage when he was murdered? I think it was in broad daylight for walking a dog. Was he walking because, was he murdered because he was walking a dog? Was the person that stabbed him, did he have a particular dislike of dogs? Was he from a particular religion? What was the true motive here? But anyway, let's paper over that. Let's not talk about that because it's not really a headline, is it? A white man getting killed in Britain? Well, nothing to see here.
Because it's all part of the plan.
It's outrageous. It really is outrageous. Now, the implosion in the Green Party is because you've got the Muslim bloc vote getting their supporters suspended. Well, not getting... Well, how phrase it correctly. People who are sympathetic to what's going on in the Middle East on the Palestine side are getting suspended. I'm going to put this up now. Green Party turmoil explodes. A leaked audio reveals Deputy Co-Leader Mothin Ali secretly urging Greens for Palestine members to launch legal action and even class action suits against their own party over suspension over alleged anti-Semitism. Candidates reportedly said that the October 7th victims were not innocent and took real effort not to be anti-Semitic. He told them, let's have a look now, he was very worried and slammed the party's approach and, like Labour, has advised using neutral green materials and keep campaigning. So, they're not happy. They're not happy. And as I say, it's a broad coalition and it was never going to hold together. Now, they are already dipping in the polls. I think they're down to 14-15% recently. That's going to continue to sag, and a lot of the Muslim side will leave the Green Party in due course, and they will go on to be independents. Gaza independents, like we're going to get in Birmingham. Alright? Let's just see now what else have we got here. We've already done that one. Deputy Green Leader, again, called for green action against his own party in leaked private comments. Now, what actually exemplifies the split more than anything else is an appearance by one of the deputy leaders, Rachel Maddows, on Question Time last night. So I'm going to play the clip now. I'm going to play it.
You just stated that you've seen racial hatred in the country. Could you
please specify where that hatred is coming from?
Here's the thing, there was a very small Jewish population in Britain, okay? We've always had a small Jewish population. Now currently I think it's about 300,000, maybe 400,000 Jews in Britain. Jewish community, some of them see themselves as a race, some of them as just a religion, some of them are just born into a Jewish family, so it's very mixed in terms of what actually they define as being Jewish or what that actually means, alright? With the Muslim community, it's pretty much they view themselves as a race. Now, all of the attacks on the Jewish community, the actual physical attacks, seems to be coming from that minority, the Muslim community. This person doesn't even mention any of this, and the reason for that is because she'd be attacking her own supporters and her own party, and she understands this. So she sidesteps the issue.
Quite sure what you mean. What do you mean from the general public? Or?
Well, she said there's racial hatred in the country, and I'd just like to know where she thinks it's coming from.
I mean, I was talking about the fact that there's a rise in racially motivated crime, that kind of thing. There's more and more hate crimes. There's more reports of people feeling uncomfortable, unsafe.
What she's deflecting to now is she's deflecting to the fabled far right. That's what she's saying that this is all about. I believe, I don't watch Question Time. They were debating or talking about the Jewish attack by Muslims earlier this week down in London. That's the issue. The audience member specifically banged her to rights and said, who's causing the tension? And she's deflected to, well, there's a rise in hate crimes, people are feeling uncomfortable, i.e. the minority populations, whether that's Hindus, Jews, Muslims, Sikhs, are being intimidated by people like me. The framing is completely off, that's not what the question was about. But let's see what she continues with, shall we?
There's more
You
division.
said there's racial hatred. Where do you think it's coming from?
Okay. What are you getting at exactly?
Oh, where does she think this racial hatred is coming from?
What do you mean? What specific sectors
Well, I
of the
can
community?
actually say that where I think it's coming from actually is that we live in rip-off Britain and people are having a really, really tough time.
So the Muslim attack on Jewish community in London is because people have to pay a bit more for a tin of baked beans. That's what she's saying here. It's pathetic, it's ridiculous, and she doesn't want to call out the elephants in the room. So I'm going to call out the elephants in the room here. We've imported a demographic that tend to be a bit stab happy and tend to have backward views of people that aren't of their religion, and particularly women as well. It's a foreign culture, it has no place in a modern Britain, and they need to go. They shouldn't be living in siloed communities, they should be forced to leave. They are not welcome in Britain if this is their view and these are their attitudes. It's not racist to call that out, and I'm calling it out here. In my, well, not in my constituency, but my county in Cheshire, there was a raid on a mosque. Over 500 police officers down in Crewe arrested 9 people on charges of modern slavery, exploitation, and trafficking, people trafficking, amongst other things. This isn't isolated to my constituency, this is all over the country. This isn't isolated to the north of England, this is all over the country. And when anything regarding any minority community occurs, nothing to see here. Don't worry about it. If you're calling a spade, you are the racist, you are in the wrong. Thank you, Equality Act.
They're struggling because their bills are going up. They're struggling because they can't afford their rents. I actually think this is the reality. They're struggling because food is now so expensive, it's eye-watering. What that means is that there's then a tendency to find someone to blame.
So she's saying migrants are scapegoated because of the cost of living. That's not what he asked. He was asking where specifically is the racial hatred coming from? Why is it Jewish people in Britain are being targeted by Muslims? That is what he's driving at. And the politician cannot even say what I've just said. Think about that. You need to be truthful, you need to be factual. I don't see many white people, many Jewish people are white, alright, but I'm using it as an example. Native British people that aren't Jewish, I'll phrase it that way, I don't see them going down to synagogue and intimidating the Jewish community. I do not see it. Alright? It may happen. There may be some people, white British, Christians, or people of no religion, that hate Jews. That may be a thing. I've never seen it personally, but it may be real. Alright? When you're seeing these high profile attacks, like the one in Manchester and the one in London, they're from the Muslim community. But you can't say it, because her co-deputy leader is a Muslim, and she's dependent on that vote. That is how you're selling out your humanity, that is how you're selling out your principles, or what you actually truly believe, to get into power. It's disgusting, and it's pathetic. But we'll continue with the clip.
And I think that there have been narratives. Zia's party is definitely one of these narratives, like the people propagating these narratives, that will point the finger at certain communities to blame them when it is not the fault of those communities. So I actually think that the economic situation, which is disastrous at the moment, is a big reason why hate's on the rise. So that's why we need to solve the economic problems, we need to end rip-off Britain, make sure ordinary people are having a better life day to day, not struggling so much, but we also need to really focus on community cohesion and living well together.
Okay, so community cohesion. That's where the police knock on your door if you say something spicy online that may offend somebody. That's your community cohesion. The politicians tend to do this. They tend to separate issues like NHS, immigration, and economy, and treat them in isolation. So what this midwits, and being generous with that description, is saying is, solve the cost of living crisis, solve the issue with the economy, and people won't mind that there's millions of migrants in the country, and the Muslims won't attack the Jews. That's her pitch. Alright? What I'm going to say is that all of these things are interlinked. Importing millions of people impacts on the economy. It impacts on public services. It impacts on every facet of British life, and it means the country becomes something that is unrecognisable. More to that, if a significant number of the imported people into Britain had problems with settled communities that have been here for generations, such as the Jewish community, again, that is an imported problem. It's also an imported problem when they're fighting over something happening in the Middle East. I don't make videos on the Gaza-Israel conflict because, frankly, it's none of my business and it's not my problem. I do not care. Frankly, I really don't. I'm doing this video because, ultimately, it's on my doorstep because I've got warring factions in Britain that, frankly, needs to be shown the door if they can't behave themselves. But we'll end the clip here. Now, what do you think? Do you think I'm on the money with this? When a white person is attacked by an imported community, nobody cares. I want to say nobody cares, I don't mean regular people like me. We very much care. The people, the electors, the people we put in, they don't care, because caring would acknowledge that the native people are a thing, we are real. It would also acknowledge that their multicultural experiment has fallen flat on its arse, and they would have to admit defeat, and they'd have to admit failure. What I do find shocking is that there was no interventions from Fiona Bruce on this, on Question Time, about telling the respondents to be specific, the politician from the Green Party to be specific, and actually admit, yes, there is a problem with anti-Jew sentiments from the Muslim community, and they don't differentiate. If you're a Jew, you're responsible for what's going on in Israel and Gaza. That's the way that they view it. Now, as I say, I've got no dog in that race, but it's playing out on our streets on a day-by-day basis, and I'm sick of it. You let me know if you're sick of it. You let me know if you welcome the implosion of the Green Party. It couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of people, in my view. None of them are fit for office. None of them should be in power. Alright? If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, give me a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. You have a pleasant day.